first of all, thank you very much to the KNS partners for being the virtual state sponsor for this particular edition of the IPR Gorilla happening in the Singapore time zone. Hello and welcome to the presentation slot session 2, Structuring International Patent Portfolios. It is the presentation as given by Madhusudan ST, partner for KNS Partners. So Madhusudan, over to you now.
Thank you, Ankit. Uh, Thanks for this opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening for the people who stay out in India. So the topic of this conference or the session is how well you can structure your international patent portfolio. Why it's so important. We'll let you know by the end of this session what is the strategies you have to make sure. I was talking about why it's so important to structure patent portfolio, particularly when you're looking international level. Because as you know, most of you, getting a patent is not an easy task, either at the effort front, at the same time investing on getting a patent. So how well it is important to manage your international patent portfolio, and what are the strategies you have to take care while you decide you get the patent portfolio prepared and tomorrow you decide to enforce it. So let us understand the step by step. In the next 20 minutes, to get to know what are the strategies one should follow and how well these strategies help you in tomorrow, which would aligns with certain strategies of your company or individual or certain goals would help you to meet. So for any company, be it startup, mid-sized, or the large-sized corporations, either well-funded or they are very good IP-savvy companies have a larger portfolios already in place. It is very important have the business goal aligned with the collection of patents and IP budget and competitors. So when you're creating the collection of patents, you should keep these strategies in mind. Whether my patent creation portfolio is aligning with my business goals, am I exceeding my IP budget, or am I positioned very well with respect to my competitors wherever the market is. So when you're doing this, if you don't align these strategies, a business goal, IP budget, and competitors, so there are chances that you may have a good collection of patents, might not well get utilized at the later front. What is that one help you to do this? Aligning these strategies are these contributing factors with the collection of patents, which is going to be useful in future, is to have a better aligned patent strategy. So in the next slide, you will see what happens if you don't align your strategy when creating a portfolio. If you see in the balancing act here, if you forego your business goals, what exactly the business goals for your company, and you heavily invest on the creating patent portfolios, it may imbalance the strategy with respect to business goal and IP budget. So it becomes very important to balance the goal against budget. If you don't do that, generally the management will not be in a good position and they not be happy with such kind of strategies. They might continue to invest on the patents protecting the innovations you come up with the later stage. So it is very important for you to keep management happy while balancing your goals as well as the business IP budget. If you look at the IP budget, why it is so expensive? For example, to get an US patent, you might end up to spending 30 to 60,000 US dollars. At the same time, if you want to get the same patent in different countries, for example, US, Europe, Japan, India, and China, it may cost you around 200,000 to 300,000 USDs. But if you want to spread throughout the countries and create a larger patent portfolio, you end up spending a lot of $1 million on that. So that is not a viable option for your management. So then what makes you to balance these two is to have a patent attorney who is good in strategizing your filings, at the same time who is good in aligning the goals, business goals, of your company with the patent filings. So once you can able to develop a good patent strategy, it will help you to align the business goals and the budget, and also check your competitors on the product front. So as I talked about in the previous slide, business goals is one of the important aspect. So the basic question comes here: what does the business primarily need or want? Is very important. So when you're developing a portfolio, ask yourself, ask the team, ask the product development team, what is the company's require? Does your company wants to be a leader in the market, or a company wants to generate the revenue through the second sources? When you become leader of the market and you own the lot of patents in that particular product where you are selling your products, and there will be no competitors so touching upon your products, so eventually you become the market leader for that particular product. Then you have a direct resource of generation of your revenues. So because you are the market leader, you don't have a competitor, you have a product which is selling like cakes, and you are making a revenue out of it. But what if there are competitors already existing here, and your product is not a new product which is already there, you are just part of the larger pool? Does being a competitor leader there would help you? So it becomes important to ask yourself as a company whether you want to be a market leader or you want to be a coexisting in the market. So this is valid across the company or business unit or any product related aspects. And how do you get the answer where exactly yourself need to position? You may get the answer depends on the maturity of the company or the competition. How mature your company it is with respect to product development, how mature the company with respect to product protection, how mature with respect to enforcement. So based on the three different aspects, you'll get to know where exactly you need to position yourself. At the same time, how mature your competitors. It's not enough to know only your position. It's also important to know the competitors' position as well. How mature your competitors in the market. So are they very proactive? Are they watching your footsteps? What could be your next step? Are they trying to build some technology around the core technology of yours? So that is also becomes very important when you are aligning your business goals or positioning yourself, whether you want to be a market leader or you want to coexist. At the same time, it depends on the maturity of the field of technology, where you're investing on the technology area. Is it a new technology, a native technology area? Are the technologies already well known in the market? Many people are existing. So this also makes an important contributing factor to decide whether you want to be in the top position or you want to be the position where you can generate the revenue by licensing. That is existing coexistence. Again, it depends on the finance situation of a company. You have to decide where exactly you stand. So if you decided that you want to be a market leader, so you can decide that you stand with respect to first position and you become first in the market, or you're first in the technology area, or you have enough financial means. What exactly the financial means here is you are protected your patents for the, well protected your product by the various patents, and if there is an infringement tomorrow, you have enough financial support from the management team to enforce your right. Because when you're enforcing your right, it going to be a costly affair. So it becomes very important while deciding where exactly you want to position yourself to know already you are a market leader, or you are in the first in the market or technology, or you have enough financial means to go against your competitors or infringers and enforce your right. If you tick all the three boxes here, you can very well position yourself in the top. That is the first option. Whereas if you are not a market leader, That means there are already competitors or the other players existing in the market, and you're not in the first to the market, or the technology here is not new, but there are market is already existed and the technology area. Many people are working in the particular technology area. For example, mobile technology. If you take electrical vehicles, so these are something new in the market. But whereas go back to the earlier days where image processing, those kind of inventions, where players are already existing. So you have to decide yourself whether you are first in the market or you are first in the technology area, or people are already existing it. So if you can able to decide on that, then that will be easy for you to decide where exactly you need to position. At the same time, it is also very important, as I said, if you decided that you want to generate the revenue through the second sources, that by coexisting in the market through the license agreement, so you need to develop the market first. What I mean to develop the market, you need to wait yourself and watch where exactly this particular product is being developed, manufactured, and whether you want to directly go and sell your product there or not, or you want your competitors to sell your product, develop a manufacturing site in those regions. Make sure that you have all the analysis done on that part and you go protect your patent in those regional areas. So when the market is developed for a product and you have protected your patents there, it is very easy for you to have a cross licensing arrangement or licensing agreements with your competitors, because the competitor, once you block the competitors from practicing your technology, so it is easy to undergo the licensing. I said, when you decide you want to develop a market, then how do you decide what is the market for me? So one simple way of doing it, go and file the patent application throughout the world. So you can protect entire world wherever you believe you have a market for you. But is that really a viable option for you? As I said, getting a patent in one country takes so and so amount. When you decided to protect your patent in throughout the world, it's going to be a huge affair for the company. So it becomes very difficult for you to decide which are these countries you have to protect now. Then what could be the next option? Then how do you decide where exactly I have to go and protect my product? We generally call as a 3Cs approach. Either you see where exactly the customers are presently, or you can also see where exactly the future customers are. So that would help you to expand your business. It's so important to see how exactly the court or legal proceedings are matured in those countries, exactly the enforcement scenario of the particular country. So if I protect my product there, protect my invention there, am I easily able to enforce my rights in that particular jurisdiction? How exactly that particular jurisdiction behave with respect to enforcing the right? How well the courts are matured? That also plays a vital role in deciding the factor. And the third is the competitors. You want your competitors to avoid copying your products. So it becomes very important to know where exactly your competitors are sitting. Your competitors' manufacturing sites are sitting. That becomes very important. So, for example, if you take an example of a manufacturing invention, and you don't have a customer in Germany, but you have a competitor in the Germany, and you want to protect a patent there, but you don't have customer, but you have competitors there. But your competitors are not selling the products in the Germany, but selling the products some outside Germany. Does it now help you to go and protect the product in Germany? That becomes very important question to ask. So if the competitor in the Germany is manufacturing but selling it outside different jurisdiction where exactly your customer resides, then it becomes very important for you to protect your invention in Germany. The reason being the patent is a negative prohibitive right, what you get. You can avoid your third parties or competitors practicing your invention or manufacturing invention. So in that way, what happens when you file your application or protect your product in Germany, you can cut old competition in that particular jurisdiction. What happens now? The most probably the competitor would come and seek a license for that particular product. You start generating a revenue, even though your Germany is not an interest for you. Now another example where there is a Australia and you want to protect, decide to protect in Australia, but you don't have a competitor, neither customer in Australia, neither your competitors are part of the manufacturing setup there. So in that case, you can easily forego protecting your invention in Australia. So this customer codes and competitors plays a huge role in deciding where exactly your patent has to be filed. So if I consider in out of this entire globe, USA you have a customer, India you have a customer, Europe you have a customer, and China you have a customer. Australia you don't have a customer, but you have a competitors there. Japan you have competitors there. Now US you have customer and competitors. Same wise Europe you have customer and competitor. Now US and Europe are well known that they are very matured in litigation, enforcement of rights. So it makes a default option for any company to get into US and Europe. So while deciding the filing jurisdiction, creating the market for your product, so this is one of the exemplary flow I have given. How do you prioritize your filings? You choose US and Europe. As I said, it meets all the three requirements of having customer, matured codes, and your competitors there. Then go on protect in India and China because you have your customer base there and it's a huge market. And then you proceed towards the competitors. Their competitors, you might not have your customers, but your competitors might have a manufacturing site there. They will be manufacturing your product and selling outside Australia or Japan. In that case, it becomes very important for you to protect. Apart from three C's, there exist other factors as well you need to consider. Where invention was made, that is also very important because as a legal requirement, statutory requirements, there are some countries it is important for you to protect invention where the invention was made first. And where is the inventor location? That again very important because some of the countries follows that where the inventor was residing when they develop the invention needs to protect in that country first. If you're not interested in protecting any of these two, based on these two factors, then your option called foreign filing license. You can seek a license from those countries and you can directly file the countries of your interest. And this is very important, another one. We would have heard patent prosecution highway. So what exactly patent prosecution highway? This helps you to get uniform right across the jurisdiction. For example, if you have a patent with a particular scope protected in US, the same scope can be protected in Europe, other countries based on the priority application. So what the benefit you get? So once you enforce the right in a particular jurisdiction, if you have same scope protected in the different jurisdiction, it becomes very easy for you to even the prosecute and get the patent. At the later, you can enforce your right very easily. So if you have a different scopes protected in different jurisdiction, then it becomes an individual scope and enforcement criteria will vary. Then you have to decide how exactly you want to strategize the scope of your invention in those countries. Depends on the local jurisdiction requirement. Here, as a visual example, there's a patent prosecution highway between US and Europe. So you can directly protect the uniform right between these two countries. And Europe, China, US, China, Europe, Japan, Japan, China, and Japan, India. So they are the countries where you can get a uniform patent protection. Once your priority application is granted in a priority country, the same scope can be easily grantable in other countries through PPH. So consider that you have huge patent portfolio and you end up renewing every year those patents. And the renewal is the second most costly affair in the patent life cycle. So because you have to renew the patent for 20 years continuously. So renewing becomes a huge headache for the companies. When they have many products, for example, a mobile phone, your product which is related to display, power, batteries, processing processors. We have multiple patents within the products. Same thing holds good for product B and same thing holds for product C. Now, is it viable for you to maintain all this patent? As I said, protecting patent in for different products, having a multiple patents is a very costly. What you need to do is you need to identify what are the features of this patent. Whether the features are obsolete now, because I got the patent 5 years back, 10 years back, the technology has evolved over the period of time, and now many people are not practicing it. So does it make sense for me to still continue to protect these by paying the maintenance fee in those countries? Now, future wild, as an example, is a trending one. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, there are different technology which is trending right now. So it makes sense for it to continue to protect them. Feature Z, which are the future evolution technologies? Could be 5G, again, various optimization things of the 5G. So it becomes very important. Right now, we don't see much value for the future technologies, but in the come down the line, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you might end up seeing a lot of market for the newer technology area. It makes sense, even though you're not reaping the benefit from this patent immediately, but wait and watch till the market matures and you can reap the benefit from that. Now, future X dash, another one. Though your technology is obsolete, as I said in the future X, but you already entered a license with some of the customers for 2G, 3G phones. Still, it's available in the market. People are making use of it, and you have licensed the technology for the company or customers. It makes sense for you to continue to maintain those patents. So technology which are obsolete, you can do away, and technology you believe is trending new and you have a license agreement with, you can continue to maintain. For obtaining patent protection, new technology becomes very important for you, and expand its patent portfolio through acquisition and licensing. There's another opportunity, as I said, if you want to create a market, your option either you can go acquire and under the licensing, you can acquire some of the patents and develop the market there. You can license your technology to other organization for revenue generation as a second source. Selling or abandoning assets that are no longer valuable for your company. There are two different ways you can create your patent portfolio. So this should be an important strategy for a company when decide to create a patent portfolio. You can wait for the invention disclosure to come. That means you can wait till inventors develop a new technology, then draft and get the patent. But if you are active, what it generally means, if a company is proactive, then you analyze the future requirement of a society or the system. You encourage inventors to work upon those future requirements, identify the crux of those future requirements, start protecting them. So develop the invention disclosure for future technologies and protect them. As I said at the end, so it's very important for you to balance those three important factors: business goals, IP budget, and competitors while creating your patent portfolio. And while filing the applications, it becomes very important to strategize your filings based on where exactly the customers, how exactly the codes behaving, and where exactly your competitors are. And you decide whether your company wants to be a passive patent portfolio developer or active patent portfolio developer. If you include these three major requirements, major contributing factor in your regular practice, so it will be easy for you to manage a well-developed portfolio which aligns the IP budget of the company.
Thank you so much, Madhusudan, for this presentation on structuring international patent portfolios and sharing your expertise and your experience with all the participants. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to once more thank our virtual state sponsors, the KNS partners, whose video is being run throughout the day on the stage, and you guys can check it out at any moment and get to know more about KNS partners, work profile, and everything. Thank you so much, Madhusudan, for joining this conference, this edition of the conference.
Great. So once again, I would like to thank for the organizers giving this opportunity for us, and so congratulations for the very well organized conference.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Madhusudan.